Hi guys, my name is Brandy and I want to welcome you to my kitchen and the channel Sewing Back. Today I wanted to make what I would think is a very southern cookie because it is made with a very southern item that I get local from Lyle's Family Farm. They do this every summer, and you can go up to, it's a county over from where I live, up in Bartow County at the Cartersville Farmers Market. I think they run from like April, May-ish to the end of September. But every year towards, I want to say it's August, they make the sorghum syrup. And so I love to get a bottle of this each year of the sorghum syrup that Lyle's Family Farm makes. And if you haven't had sorghum syrup, it's very similar to a molasses, but I think it's a little bit richer kind of flavor. It's a little different, but it makes for delicious cookies and baked goods and things like that. So today I wanted to make my take on an old-fashioned sorghum syrup cookie. And it's really easy to put together. If you do not have access to sorghum syrup, I have seen it in my local grocery stores. I'm not sure, it's not from Lyle's farm, but I have seen it in a lot of the major chain grocery stores. So I think you probably could find it, but if you don't want to go buy an extra item and you have molasses, you can totally intertwine molasses for sorghum syrup or vice versa. So, and the flavor you're going to kind of get from that is going to be that gingerbready kind of cookie. And so this is not like a rollout one where you would cut them like gingerbread. It's just a little, it's like you use a cookie scoop and then you roll it in sugar and bake it, and it's delicious, but it'll give you that flavor. And you could still, I guess, decorate it, just not like gingerbread men. But anyway, so I want to tell you what you're going to need. I milled my flour. I understand a lot of people do not have a grain mill. So if you don't, you can totally use, and whatever your favorite all-purpose flour is, you can use that. A whole wheat flour would be delicious as well. I am using Kamut flour that I've milled, and my main reason for that is Kamut has a lower gluten content, and I really wonder if these cookies could not be made. I haven't made them with the one-to-one gluten-free flour, but I imagine they probably would do just fine if you're gluten-free to use one of whichever your favorite one is that's like the cup for cup. So let me tell you what you're going to need. You are going to need 3/4 of a cup of butter. I have that room temperature. You need 1 cup of sugar, and then you're going to need about 1/4 of a cup of sugar that's separated to roll your cookies in once you get them mixed up. You're going to need 1/4 of a cup of, not that, sorry, of your sorghum syrup, and if you don't, then you need molasses. You're going to need 1 egg, 2 cups of whatever flour you want to use. Like I said, I'm using a Kamut flour because I'm not souring these. I have not tested this as a sour cookie, and I do fine with just having the Kamut. So, but like I said, the Kamut is an ancient grain, and it has the least amount of gluten of the ancient wheat berries, and so that's why I choose to use it. It also makes wonderful cookies, cakes, pastas, any of those kinds of things. Kamut is a beautiful flour to work with. So that's what I'm using. But you could totally use, like I said, an all-purpose. You could use a whole wheat or I believe you would not have any problem using a 1-to-1 gluten-free flour. All right, then you're gonna need 2 teaspoons of baking soda, a half of a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, half of a teaspoon of ginger, and then half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Now, I only have whole nutmegs, and that's a whole nutmeg there. Oops. You can get ground nutmeg. It's a very different flavor when you grind it yourself, and I just have my microplane, and I just grate it for a little bit, and when I feel like I've gotten to where I need to be, then that's going to be my half of a teaspoon. I don't know if any of you kind of do it that way. I guess that's a little bit of a fudge because it's not exact, but I don't know how I would do that. So I've got all of that with my dry ingredients in my bowl over here. The only other thing that you're gonna need, I'm excited because this summer, back in July, I did Christmas in July, and I made 2 different types of vanilla. This one, if you can see the color, this is a vodka-based vanilla. And this one in the amber glass that I did is a bourbon-based vanilla. And I'm going to use the bourbon-based vanilla to this cookie because I think that bourbon is gonna really marry nicely with the sorghum syrup. If I were doing like a sugar cookie or something like that, I think that the vodka-based vanilla would probably be a little bit nicer fit for that one. So I have a cup of sugar in my mixer here. If you have a hand mixer, you could totally do that. You could probably put it in a food processor. I have a really cheap food processor, and I tried to grate some cheese when I got my big block from Azure, and I think I kind of blew it up. It doesn't smell right when I use it now, so I just don't use it. So this is my 3/4 of a cup of butter. It's room temperature, and I just kind of cut it into squares. And we're gonna cream these two together. One of the things I wanted to say about sorghum that I had looked up is I knew that it was supposed to be really healthy for you and good for gut health. I did not realize that it is lower on the glycemic index than regular sugar, high fructose corn syrup, which means that you're not going to have the same kind of like insulin spikes. And so it is not, it's not a highly processed sweetener like those are. I also read, a lot of people ask, you know, what's the difference in using like this versus a raw honey? And it says that sorghum actually has a higher mineral content than honey does, and so sorghum is very high in vitamin B6, and so it also says sorghum syrup has iron and potassium, magnesium, vitamin B5, B2, B1. And phosphorus. My butter and sugar creamed, and so now I'm going to turn my mixer back on, and I've got an egg here, and this is my first use of my bourbon vanilla that I made myself. Oh, it smells good. And I'm going to put a teaspoon in here with my egg, and I can link that video where I made the vanilla. It's easy to do, it just takes time. That's why we did it in July, so it'll be ready for Christmas baking. All right, so I'm going to turn this on. We're going to get our egg going with our vanilla, and then I have our sorghum. I have my little spatula here because it's thick, okay? actually going to turn this off for just a second and try to get that off my spatula. Because I want to get that all in there. And that was 1/4 of a cup. So I think this cookie is kind of somewhere in between, like I said, a gingerbread and probably a ginger snap flavor kind of profile. And they don't last long. So this might be one that you might want to double the recipe. Or you might want to double the recipe and freeze part of them. And I'm excited. I've never baked cookies in this new oven, so this is going to be a learning process for me. That's what it looks like, and I'm just going to take my, I have a small ice cream scoop. You could do them bigger if you wanted, but this for us is probably the right size. And I've got my cookie sheet. I have these baking mats. I love these things. I don't know where they've been my whole life. I got them when I got the kitchen because I got some bigger pans. I had really small ovens before, and I got those mats. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. If you don't have those mats, you might want to use some parchment paper just for an easy cleanup. All right, so I'm just going to take my scoop. And I'm just going to kind of roll it around in the sugar. This is just white, organic white sugar. And that's it. And you want to kind of keep them kind of uniform. If you feel like they're a little too I don't know what the texture, I can't think of what the word is I'm looking for. It's 2 weeks till I turn 50, that's why I can't think of my words. I laugh now. Probably won't laugh in another decade. Maybe it'll get better, I don't know. But anyway, if you want it to be a little bit harder texture to do this portion of it, you can totally put it in the refrigerator for, you know, like 20 minutes or so. You could also do this one the day before if you wanted to, and then bake it the next day. Again, I think you could totally just flash freeze these. And my guess is this will not be the only batch I make, because I know these were like a big time favorite of my kids last year. Alright guys, so this recipe makes 2 dozen cookies, and I will leave it in, I'll leave the recipe in the description. And like I said, if you don't have sorghum syrup, they will taste just as yummy with molasses. I have 1 batch in the oven right now. If you wanted them to be even larger, like you used a big ice cream scoop, then you'd probably get a dozen cookies. But I like this. Matter of fact, I think I'm fixing to make another batch of these that I can freeze and pull out closer to Christmas, and just bake them up because they're so easy to make. This was very simple and easy. When mine get out of the oven, I'll show you. You bake at 350 for anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes. You'll want to watch that. You don't want them to get too overcooked unless you really like a crunchy cookie. So, but you don't want to underbake them. And I'm kind of discovering this in my oven right now, so I'll let you know how it goes. Alright guys, so this is my first batch. I forgot how much these spread. So, it says you're supposed to leave them on the pan for about 1 minute to 2 minutes, and then you want to put them on a cookie sheet to cool. And so what I did with my next batch that's fixing to go in, I went ahead and I just crisscrossed with a fork to go ahead and smash them down just a little bit. I will tell you, in my oven, I'm learning I have to rotate on baked things so that it browns evenly. I don't know if it's because it's such a big oven, and I'm still trying to figure out cooking with the convection cycle. I've got some more to learn on that. But anyway, I'll show you what this one looks like when it comes out. So this is my first one. They've been cooling. And my second ones just came out, and even though I did the crisscross pattern, let me get my mitts, you can't even tell. So that's just, they're gonna be like that. And that was with the small cookie scoop. So they are amazing. Matter of fact, I've already got a second one that I'm gonna do, but I am gonna chill those because I'm gonna chill them, and then I'm gonna ball them up and do the sugar on it, and then I'm gonna try to flash freeze them and have that like frozen cookie dough in the freezer that I can take out and we can have another time. But this is, look how, I mean, compared to my hand, it's a big cookie. It's beautiful. It smells so good, and it's really chewy. And that's from the sorghum syrup. If you use molasses, it's going to be similar. It's like when you use brown sugar in a recipe versus white sugar. It's going to give you a chewier, usually it should give you a chewier consistency. So these won't be here long. These are so good, and they're not super sweet, but I mean, they're plenty sweet, but it's not like a super duper sweet. It has such a nice flavor. Very good. Now in my oven, what I found was I cooked for 5 minutes, and then I rotated my pan and I cooked for 5 more minutes. And that seemed to be good for this cookie, for this bake, for me. So I'll put that in the description. But with that, I hope that you might give these a try. Even if you don't have the sorghum syrup and you have some good old-fashioned molasses, it'll work just fine. They're so good. But anyway, if you found value in this, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you're liking our content, please consider subscribing to our channel. Or if you know someone you think who might like this recipe, please share it. We appreciate that so much. We appreciate you being here and for watching. And with that, I will see you next time. Bye.